Hi, I'm Jose Lozano. At Choose New Jersey, we work to attract businesses to our state by promoting our talented workforce and world-class infrastructure for companies big and small. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, founded by the Jewish community. Choose New Jersey. Our mission is attracting companies to the Garden State. New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation. Johnson & Johnson, the law firm of Gibbons, P.C., the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, and by Community Food Bank of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by NorthJersey.com and Local IQ, part of the USA Today network, and by BestOfNJ.com, all New Jersey in one place.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at that.
Life without dance is boring.
I don't care how good you are or how good you think you are, there is always something to learn.
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No.
People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
Such a good question. High five.
Welcome to One-on-One. I'm Steve Adubato. We're coming to you from the Agnes Ferris NJTV studio. We're pleased to welcome Dr. Tom Thomas, Director, Head and Neck Reconstructive Surgery and Transoral Robotic Surgery at Atlantic Health. Good to see you.
Good to be here, Steve.
You and I were just talking before we got in the air. I want to jump into that topic. HPV virus. What are we talking about, and why is it a critical issue?
So HPV is a sexually transmitted disease. It's over 200 varieties of them. There's 2 to 3 of them are extremely important. At least as a head and neck surgeon, they cause 90% or more of the throat cancers that we are diagnosing nowadays. So my partner, Eric Cohen, and my team at Morristown Medical Center, Dr. James Wong of Radiation Oncology and Misak Huygens of Medical Oncology, and other professionals work together as a team in a multidisciplinary way to treat this epidemic of HPV-related throat cancer that we are seeing.
You're calling it an epidemic.
It is.
Why?
Because in the last 10 years, it went from 17% of the cancers of the throat to over 80%. And it is seen, especially in the developed world, especially in UK, Eastern Europe, and Australia, and it is slowly spreading to the other parts of the world.
A national, international crisis.
Absolutely, it is.
Can the virus be treated?
So we have 3 different vaccinations that has been available since 2006. And we have seen efficacy of eradicating the infection over this time, and the indication has expanded now to boys and girls and to even older adults.
Okay, I'm curious about this. We've been having conversations with several medical professionals about vaccines. Now, young people 11 and 12 should be getting what?
So we should be giving them the HIV vaccination that is before they become sexually active. So it has the capacity to protect them from developing it or decreasing the infection of it. That's the reason for giving the...
Sorry for interrupting, Dr. Thomas. What do you say to those who say, you know, you shouldn't be talking to 11, 12-year-olds about this because it involves sexually transmitted disease, and we don't want to be talking about that to them because we may be encouraging them to engage in behavior that they otherwise wouldn't, you say?
I have 4 kids. I have 3 boys and a girl, and the oldest one is 13. I already vaccinated my oldest child. The second one is a girl. She will get it. Every one of my kids will get vaccines because this is a protein particle vaccine, not a live virus or attenuated virus that you hear about in measles, mumps, and rubella. It has excellent safety efficacy. I have no doubt that patients and people will benefit from it. Because if you don't prevent it, you will pay a price for it 30 years from now.
Yeah, make that connection again. Help us on this, those of us without a clinical background. And by the way, I want to disclose that you're talking about you're connected to the folks at Morristown, right?
Morristown Medical
Which is part of the larger Atlantic Health System,
yes.
Which is one of the supporters of what we do. Question, what is the connection without a detailed, complex, hard to understand clinical explanation of this HPV virus and potential throat and mouth-related cancers?
So HPV,
How does that work?
HPV is over 200 subtypes. We already knew for the last 50 years that some subtypes cause cervical cancer in females. And these cancers, these HPV viruses can land in areas of the epithelium, which is the outer layer of skin, usually in the cervix or in the tonsil tissue in the throat. And then it can integrate themselves into the cells and multiply. But it can stay there for 20, 30 years, and something triggers them to turn into cancer after that. And that's what we are facing now.
So play this out for a second. Now you have to perform surgery because certain things were not done. And I'm curious about this. Minimally invasive surgery in your field. First of all, is that what the word transoral means?
Exactly.
That means minimally invasive?
That's right.
Okay, but for what kinds of cancers and how? Talk about its efficacy, if you will, its effectiveness.
Sure. In the olden days, the head and neck cancers tend to be a tobacco and excess alcohol-related cancer. The cancers tend to be much bigger in the throat. By the time they recognize and diagnose it, we have to split the lip, split the mandible, open up the neck to remove the tumor. So can you imagine, the bigger the incision, bigger the surgery, longer the recovery, and swallowing function, breathing, talking, all compromised during that part. So transoral robotic surgery, especially with the HPV cancer, the primary tumor is much smaller. So you can use the natural orifice of the mouth to get to it using a robot and remove the tumor without any major cutting of the bones or disfiguring surgery.
The healing process then is what?
Is much quicker, 3 to 5 days, maybe 7, instead of 3 weeks to 4 weeks in an ICU setting with a tracheostomy tube. Dramatic difference.
The most important piece of this is that people need to be aware.
People need to be
And you're not the only healthcare system, but I do know that you have an HPV center.
Right.
What is that, real quick, before I let you go? What is it?
HPV Center was created because recognizing this epidemic, public and the professionals don't have a place to go for resources. So we decided to create the center so they can get information and a multidisciplinary access to physicians in one setting.
Atlantic has that.
Atlantic has that.
And it's a resource to everyone?
It's a resource to everyone.
This is Dr. Tom Thomas, who is Director of Head and Neck Reconstructive Surgery and Transoral Robotic Surgery, at Atlantic Health. I want to thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
Important information.
Thank you.
Okay, well done. This is Steve Adubato. This is One-on-One, and we'll be right back.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We're pleased to welcome back our good friend, Dr. Joe Marbach, who is president of Georgian Court University. Good to see you, Joe.
Great to see you, Steve. Thanks.
All right, let's get right into this. Student debt. We've had lots of different people come on. One of your presidents, one of the colleagues of yours who's president, said, you know what? This college debt thing is overrated. It's real?
It's real, but I think you really have to delve into those numbers a little bit. You see this huge number that's thrown out there, but there are really 3 main components of that debt. One is, what are graduate students taking out in debt? And that's generally good debt because they're going to end up with good jobs and they're going to get MBAs.
You mean not undergraduate students?
Not undergraduate students. These are students getting their MBAs, their doctoral degrees, their master's degrees. They end up with better jobs. A big portion of the debt is the for-profit institutions, which are selling a product to people who are uninformed and they often don't graduate and they have tons of debt. And that's the real problem that we run into, the for-profits. And then there's schools like Georgian Court, the nonprofits, the undergraduate. We do graduate students with debt. On average, it's about $25,000. It's less than a car payment. So it's something that's manageable. A little bit, slightly, but not much, especially if you're looking at who graduates with debt. The worst problem is if a student doesn't graduate and has that debt.
No degree?
No degree.
Why is that worse?
Because then they really don't have the opportunity to find that job that's going to put them into and give them the ability to pay for that debt.
Joe, do this, because I don't want to assume people know what Georgian Court is. Joe's been with us many times. Georgian Court is one of our higher ed partners. We've done a whole range of programming together around higher ed and related issues. Describe it. Where is it? So
Georgian Court is located in Lakewood, New Jersey. It's a Catholic university founded by the Sisters of Mercy in 1908, and we moved to Lakewood in 1923. We had traditionally been an all-girls school, went co-ed about 6 years ago, and now offer a full range of undergraduate and graduate programs.
So, Joe, we're about at this time with our youngster who's at one of the schools up in North Jersey, and he wants to start visiting colleges. And of course, in my mind, I start naming New Jersey-based schools. And he says, no, what about this one? What about Michigan? What about... He's not alone. I don't know where he's going to wind up, but we have a brain drain what is the brain drain, A, and B, why does it matter to all of us, no matter whether we have kids or not?
The brain drain is really what our #1 export is. It's 18-year-olds. If you look at numbers from last year, 55% of the high school graduates from New Jersey schools went out of state to college.
More than half?
More than half. Only 45% stayed in state at one of our private or public institutions.
Why does that matter?
Well, it matters because these students, once they leave state, often get internships out of state, then they get jobs out of state, then they leave the state. So we start to age as a state because we've got an older citizenship, and we're losing our 18-year-olds, our really bright young people who are really the drivers of the new economy.
Let's talk about what we need to do about it. What is being done, what needs to be done to make New Jersey institutions of higher learning more attractive, A, and B, keeping them here, these young people?
Well, I think we have to give those students choice because they have choice. If you look at the students that are leaving, they're disproportionately coming from the middle and upper class. They're students who have money in their background. They have these choices to go to Pennsylvania universities, New York universities, Maryland universities. We've got to offer them some choices back here. And we also have to make sure that college is affordable because these other schools are, we're really in an arms race. They're offering scholarship levels that we've got to match.
What do you mean an arms race?
An arms race in terms of trying to attract these students. You know, I'm a politician, a political scientist.
He's not a politician. He has,
I
his
feel like
doctorate is in political science.
But I feel like, but as a president, I'm a politician.
Yeah. That is true, and a fundraiser.
And a fundraiser, and all
join
those
the club.
But demographics are destiny, right?
Whoa. Demographics are
destiny.
Are you talking about zip code stuff?
Zip code stuff, all that. So the number of 18-year-olds is declining. And there's going to be a bump back up, and it's going to be a different type of population. It's going to be more Latino, more people of color that are coming into higher ed, first-generation type of students. So we've got to start to prepare our institutions to deal with the population that we're going to be serving, not 2 years from now, but 10 years from now.
How? A, how, and B, to what extent are you and your colleagues actually, quote unquote, we're doing a series on innovation, are you innovating and reinventing the higher education model?
Well, we're doing it in several different ways. One is in terms of our outreach and how we try to attract students. When you start to attract students who are Latino, it's often one that you're going after the family, not just the individual. So you said you've got a child who's looking and said, oh, Michigan looks great.
Right.
Doesn't happen in a Latino family where it's more of a familiar decision about where you're going to go.
The family's decision?
The family's decision. And because they're often first generation, they're looking at things that are closer to home, that are safer, where you're not necessarily going to lose somebody. And so we've got to change how we really go after the admissions process, the attraction process of students in those areas.
But aren't you also changing some majors?
We are. We're making majors.
Give us an example.
So, well, you've had Janice Warner on before, our Dean of the School of Business and Digital Media.
And by the way, I was struck by she isn't just the Dean of the School of Business.
She's now my provost.
Right, but also the digital media part.
The digital media. So under Janice's leadership, we took two programs that are generally in different schools
separate.
And combined
One is
them.
in the School of Communication or Media. The other one's business is business, and MBA is an MBA.
And we see the linkage between the two so that the students who are doing this stuff in digital media understand the business model behind it and also expose our business students to how you communicate in the 21st century through digital media. So that's just one example. We also have a program for Latino business students. And
Latino business
students.
Well, how would that be different than
well, it's if you're doing a small
for anyone who wasn't
small
Latino and
business.
business.
That's just a small business and it's language intensive. But if you're running a small business and how do you forward that to the next generation? What are the what's involved in running a small business? So it's all the aspects of business.
Is it more entrepreneurism and succession planning, et cetera?
It's some of that, but it's also just the basic elements of you got to have a little accounting, a little finance, a little marketing in your background. And how do you appeal to a particular audience that you're trying to attract customers from?
I ask you this all the time. I'll ask you again. A, how much time do you spend raising money? You could ask me the same thing. And B, why is that such a part of a president's job at the higher ed level?
I'm increasingly spending more and more time, raising money. And it's just the nature of trying to lower the cost to our students. So I'm out trying to raise money not only for our facilities, but for scholarships for our students. Over 45% of our students are first in their families to go to college. First generation.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, and over half are receiving Pell and TAG grants. So they're coming from modest socioeconomic backgrounds.
Tuition aid grant, TAG, and the Pell is...
And the Pell is the federal grant. The TAG is the state of New Jersey grant.
What's happening with those right now, Joe? Is the money going down? What's going on? The grant
right
level?
now, there's a lot of support for aid to students. So the Pell grant, actually, in the last Congress, that got extended into summertime grants as well, instead of just fall and spring, so that students can go year-round. And TAG has great support throughout the state of New Jersey, the legislature. It's the primary way that we're supporting higher education in New Jersey.
Joe, you know, you are a political scientist. You did not come here to talk presidential politics, but I got to ask you this. We're doing this right after a series of debates Democrats are having for the 2020 election. This will run after as well. Several of them talked about free college tuition. That's not really, to me, a political question. It's a fiscal and public policy one. You say?
Yeah. I say it's pie in the sky. I mean,
what do you mean?
It really, what would the formula be? How would you decide that? Even when we're talking about free community college education, which
2-year schools.
2-year schools. Governor Murphy's proposed that. It's limited. It's families making less than $45,000, and the state's making up the last dollar in. So
it's got some parameters.
It's got parameters.
But on the federal level, someone says free college for everyone, but we'll pay your debt.
Somebody's got to pay for it. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So how are we going to figure out paying for that on top of a deficit that continues to grow? And
got to deal with those fiscal questions.
Yeah, I'm still worried about Social Security.
Yeah, I hear you. We're in the same boat. So real quick before I let you go, collaboration with the governor's office on higher ed?
We're working with them. They've come out with a strategic plan for higher education, working with a number of different committees on how to make sure higher ed is affordable and accessible to students. And representatives from the various sectors are on those committees. So we're engaged with the secretary from the get-go, and we've had regular meetings with her in our sector.
Secretary of Higher Ed.
Secretary of Higher Ed, yes. And it's our sector, the Association of Independent Colleges and Universities of New Jersey, working with the government.
This is Dr. Joe Marbach, who is the president of Georgian Court University, based in beautiful Lakewood, New Jersey. Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, Steve.
Well done. We're taping beginning of the summer. Enjoy the rest of the summer. You too out there, but you'll see this in the fall as well. I'm Steve Adubato. We'll be right back.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
Steve Adubato here. We're at the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, and we are honored to be joined by Regina Fitch, Administrative Supervisor of the Shani Baraka Women's Resource Center, based in?
North New Jersey.
Beautiful brick city, North New Jersey. You were part of a conversation we're having here at the Healthcare Foundation called Breaking the Cycle of teen abuse, teen bullying. But the area I want to focus on with you, you deal with every day, dating abuse. Define it.
So dating abuse, we're talking about where young people just they're involved in a relationship with someone. I love this person so much, but that person is somewhat toxic to them. So they may influence them to do things that are outside of their character, outside of their best interest, and just not safe.
So let's help folks, because the whole point of this series is to provide valuable information, not just about where to go for help. And you'll see the Shani Baraka website up there, a great organization. In fact, our colleague Michael Hill at NJTV News did a feature that talked about your organization and how important it is. But it's also identifying signs. Mm-hmm. So someone watching right now, a parent, someone who cares about a teen, what does dating abuse look like?
Well, there's a lot of different ways to describe that, but from my assessment, whenever there's a young person who, by the time our kids get to be teenagers, they're very much about their peers. And so everything is, my friends are doing this, I want to do this with my friends. That's who they're spending most of their time with. But when we start seeing them spending more of their time less with the peer group and just with that one person, and then you start seeing them deviating from their normal behaviors or the things that you've sort of cultivated them to do, just really focused around what that one person wants from them. So that may change their school attendance because they're off doing something else. It may change in maybe they're no longer associating with friends who you thought was the best friend.
Are they isolating?
Yeah.
With that one person?
Just,
Sorry for interrupting.
yeah, just focusing on that one other person.
That's not healthy. It's interesting. There's a someone that we know very well, my wife and I were talking about this, where, say there's a young girl, and she is connected to a young boy, and they believe they're the only ones for each other.
Right.
And they just want to spend time with each other.
Right.
They isolate from their friends. And when the parents intervene and try to help, the response they get is, listen, weren't you ever in love?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to make it sound like the Romeo and Juliet thing, but it's much more, talk about danger, that was dangerous too, but this is serious business, and parents should do what?
I mean,
when they get the pushback.
Right, when you get the pushback, I think just watching and paying attention, because I think it is okay and somewhat natural for if they are in a relationship or feel that they're in a relationship that they're spending more time with that person.
But abuse is different, because you say you're talking about control. What is, quote, controlling behavior? That's what keeps playing out in my mind. What is that?
Right, the controlling behavior. So let's say there's a young woman who plays on a basketball team. And she's been committed to playing basketball.
Loves playing basketball.
You know, the last 5 years through across, grades and so forth. And now through her association with this boyfriend or girlfriend, mind you,
way.
Right? They are, I don't want to play anymore. Skipping practices, quitting the team, and now spending time doing other things that are what we would think is out of character. You know, it could be anything. Drinking, smoking, sexual behavior.
Or that other person, Regina, could say, either directly or imply it.
Right, that's not.
Wouldn't you rather be with me than play basketball?
Right. That's what I mean by forcing them to make choices that are outside of their character, outside of their normal behavior.
How common is this?
I think it can be common, and some of it is
dating
within
abuse,
our.
I mean.
Yeah, dating abuse can be common, because it really depends on that young person and who is their lifeline, who are the people that they can communicate with, who can kind of tell them that, be careful of these things.
Are there certain young women or young men who are more susceptible to the kind of dating abuse that you describe?
I think those who may not have a stable home situation, those who do not have mentors or role models within their lives, whether they're in school or in a religious house or wherever, I think that those may be, and even some who have been exposed to other types of abuse in their lives become somewhat more vulnerable.
So when they come to the Shani Baraka, by the way, tell folks where the name comes from, which is extremely significant.
Yes, so Shani Baraka, our namesake, was an educator and as well as an athlete and a coach in the city of Newark. She is also the youngest sister of the Mayor Baraka, our current mayor.
That's right.
Yes.
And
It's been almost 15 years since Shani passed.
Actually, if you go on our website, steveadubato.org, you'll see an interview, in-depth interview we did with Mayor Baraka, in which he talks about his sister and the impact her life and what happened to her has had on him. When these young women come to the center, how do you help them?
Well, so what we're doing with young folks through the Shani Baraka Center, one of the things we do is we go into schools. So
what does that
right
mean?
now,
You go into a school?
Yes. So
teen, like 13, 14?
High school.
Okay.
Right now, presently, we're working with 2 high schools, Westside High School and Shabazz High School, which is Malcolm X Shabazz, which is right in the South Ward, nearby where the center is located, so just a few blocks from our location. So we go into the schools. What we have done is created an 8 to 10 week curriculum on prevention. So it's really to prevent some of these things, to build young girls' self-esteem and their own self-concept, and also to kind of help them be mindful of some of the pitfalls that our adult clients are dealing with.
Finally, for you, how personal is this for you?
I mean, I'm a ways from being a teenager, but I remember what it was like, and so
tough, really tough.
It can be tough. It can be tough because there's a lot going on, and in the inner city, you're looking for a lifeline. You're looking for support. All of our young people need lots and lots of support.
Is it potentially tougher for a 13, 14, 15-year-old, let's say young woman in this case, in Newark, Jersey City, Camden, Trenton, et cetera, but as it relates to dating abuse, is it potentially more challenging?
Is dating abuse more challenging in New York City?
Or do you think, hey, dating abuse is dating abuse, doesn't matter where?
I don't think it's more so than anywhere else. The challenges that are facing young people in the inner city, dating is one of them, but there's several others. Just kind of an environment of crime. So.
Regina Fitch, we thank you for what you do every day on behalf of so many who need help and support, and we appreciate the fact that Regina's going to be part of our forum here at the Healthcare Foundation, a group of leaders who fight every day to break the cycle of abuse and bullying, particularly dealing with teens. Thank you, Regina.
Thank you.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 30 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, New Jersey Sharing Network, Johnson & Johnson, the law firm of Gibbons, P.C., the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, and by Community Food Bank of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by NorthJersey.com and Local IQ, and by BestofNJ.com. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
Looking to expand or relocate your business? I'm Jose Lozano, President and CEO of Choose New Jersey, and I believe our state is worth your investment. New Jersey provides tech and life science companies the support it needs and the ecosystem to mature. Here you will find top talent, lab and incubator space, venture capital, and the world's best fiber optic network. Locate your business in New Jersey, one of the most connected and diverse states. Visit ChooseNJ.com. Our legacy of innovation continues with you.